Hi everyone, my name is Avek. So welcome back to another lesson. So if you guys remember in the last lesson, we discussed like how this internet actually works. We discussed about what is TNS. We discussed how a client and a server, talk to each other. And if you remember how they talk because of the common protocol that they were using, and that is called HTTP. And in this lecture, we are going to deep dive on this mechanism. Okay. So let me draw a quick thing that we did last lesson. Like if you remember, there was a client, there was a server, this was a client, this was a server. Client was sending a request. Server was sending a response. This ask, this answer. Server always answers. Okay. And how they were interacting? So basically, I told you there is a common language that is a HTTP. Okay. Yeah, of course, HTTPS is a secure mechanism, but I'm just telling you there is a thing called HTTP. And how they were interacting, like there was a in request, how it looks like we passing a get and then we passing /feed. Just bear with me for a moment. I'm just writing it down and then I will explain you each and everything in detail. The request, it was looking like this. Hey, I need 20 post, let's say. And what was the response? Response was like this, 200, okay. Here are 20 post. So our client asks this question and our server answers this with whatever client is asking. And I told you this is how HTTP, like the hypertext protocol, looks like. Okay. But guys, if you see something, you can see that okay, there is something called there is a get. Get means I need some information. So it's all right. Like this is a verb which is telling you, okay, I need some information. But what is the significance of this /feed? We haven't discussed this before. Like why it's only /feed? Why not a /post? Like we are asking for post. Why not it's /post? Or why not be it anything? Why it's like that? Also, why this response look like this? Like why we are passing 200 okay at the very beginning? Like who defined all these things? Like who defined all these things? So guys, somewhere on this world have decided all this mechanism. Like if you ask me why we are calling centimeter as centimeter, okay. If you ask me why 1 centimeter has this much of millimeter, or why this thing has this, like all these basic things, who defined? Like in the very first place, it was defined by by the majority of the scientists. Like they clubbed together, they decided, okay, that's how this thing should define, that's how this is defined. Similarly, in the world of programming, all these things are defined. But why we are using feed and why not post and something like that? It is because both client and server have something called contract. Like they work based on a contract. Now, what does this contract mean? It says, if you send me X, as is, then I will send you Y. So if you send me X, then I will send you Y. There is a contract between a client and a server. If client is sending something which server has in contract, it can answer that thing. But let's say if client is asking something which is not part of that contract, that means server will get confused. It won't be able to answer it. So there should be a contract, and all these contracts should be defined somewhere in the code. Like what are all the contract? Contract means like what are all the things that client can ask and the server can answer. And you know what? This contract, like if you send me X, I will send you Y. This contract has a name. And this name we call as API, Application Programming Interface. Don't go with the definition right now. But what is this API? This API is nothing but a contract between a client and a server so that they can operate easily, so that server understand what client want and client understand what server can answer. So this is the basic thing. Now we will deep dive into this API terminology. And if you see, like you have heard this term like API at lot and lot of places. Like a lot of people use this terminology in a very common way. Like, okay, make this API, like this API is doing this API is doing that. So let me give you a very clear definition of API. Let me give you a very, very simple and clear definition of what API actually means. So API is nothing but, it is actually a contract. What it is actually a contract between what? Between two pieces of software. Like it cannot be three pieces. No. There can only be two pieces. Like if you see in this example, there is a client and there is a server. There is a contract between both of them. If you send me X, I will send you Y. What is actually a contract? Let's say if in a real life, like what exactly is contract? If you want to make a contract with a friend, there is a term. Okay, let's make a contract. Like if you send me this thing, I will give you this thing. There is a contract. Similarly, let's say you are going to purchase a land. In land as well, there is a contract. If you give me this much money, I'll give you my land. Are you getting it? Let's say if you are giving him the less money or the more money, he might not accept it. He will say, okay, this is not a valid amount that I asked for. Similarly, there should always be a contract if officially two pieces or two people or any two parties needs to communicate with each other. In the world of software, these things can be, let's say, front end and back end. Front end, you are using your phone. This phone is contacting the servers. That's how the front end and back end are connected. How they're connected, how they're communicating with each other. Why? Because there is a contract between both of them. There is a contract between two pieces of software. Are you getting it? Let's say you have opened a Google app, Google Play app. In Google Play app, it is connected to billing services. Let's say it is connected to your bank account. Money got deducted from your bank account. How this two, like bank account server are somewhere else. Google app, phone pay, all these things are somewhere else. Now these are two different pieces. They are contacting with each other. And one more confusion everyone have is like, okay, if you sorry, Avik, you told about front end and back end. So if front end and back end are communicating with each other, that means they will always talk with API. Of course, they will use API, but it doesn't mean only front end and back end needs to be here. The definition is any two pieces of software, if they are communicating with each other and there is a contract, that is an API, like contract between two pieces of software. So even backend can contact with backend, like backend make a contract with backend. Backend can communicate with backend with the help of API. So API is nothing but it is a contract. It is contract means officially everything is written. And if something is going out of that contract, it won't be able to answer or no one will be able to predict what will happen. So API is nothing but it is a contract between two pieces of software. Okay, so now if you see in real life, there can be different type of contract. Like for example, there can be a legal contract. There can be a subscription-based contract. Let's say you have opted for some subscription of another app. So you know, okay, every month this much account is going to deduct from my account. You're already aware of all these facts. So contract can be of anything in real life, like multiple varieties. Similarly, in software world, what is contract? Contract is nothing but API. And similarly, in this software world, this API or this contract can be of four types. What are those? First contract or first API type is REST. Another is WebSocket. Another is GraphQL. And next one is gRPC. Don't confuse with names. In this video, we are going to deep dive everything here. I'm just telling you, similar to the real world, contract can be of different type, legal, subscription, etc., etc. In the software world as well, this contract, which we are calling as API, can be of different types. What are those types? It can be REST, it can be WebSocket, it can be GraphQL, it can be gRPC. At the end, API is nothing but it is a contract between two pieces of software. I hope you're clear. So let's discuss about the very first type of API, and that is REST. Now, what is REST? Okay, if someone is talking about API or someone is telling you about API, 90% of the time they are by default talking about REST. Like if someone is talking about API, that means it is REST API if they are not explicitly mentioned any of these three. Okay, REST API. Like even if you see this example that we took above, get here 200. Okay, this example is also of a REST API variety. Okay, so by default, 90% of the time, API means REST API. Now, what exactly is this REST API? So think of your data as resources. Okay, let's take an example of Instagram. Now, guys, if you see, Instagram has a lot of resources. Like it has resources like users. Like there are millions and millions of users. It has resources like posts. Like each user has different posts. So there are billions of posts. There are billions of reels. There are like each post has comment section as well. So there are comments. So if you see users, post, comments, all these are different resources inside the Instagram app. And all these resources has some URL. These URL you can define by yourself as well. I'm just telling you because all these resources are there. Each resource has its own URL. Let's say I'm talking about users. So we are calling, okay, users has its own URL called /users. Post has its own URL /post. And you can define it anything you want. Let's say instead of user, if you want to rename it to person, you can do it. Instead of post, you want to rename it to feed, you can do it. So whatever feels right to you, you can use that thing. You can make this URL by yourself. But with this URL, there is one more important thing, and that is what exactly you want to do with resources. So we need resource. Okay, we need to do something with the resource. But what exactly you want to do with this resource, it got defined by this verb. And what does this verb? If you see this in the last example, we used this verb as a get. And then we use this URL. So /feed means, okay, we are talking about feed resources, like somewhere where all the posts are there. So we are talking about feed resources. But what does this get mean? Get means I need this. Get means I need all these feeds. So in REST API, these verb can be of 4 types. What can be these 4 types? It can be get, it can be post, it can be delete, it can be put, and all these verbs can be linked to these URLs. So get can go with /user, post can go with /user, delete can go with /user, put can go with /user, but everything has its own meaning. Let's say if I'm going with get/users, and let's say I'm also giving some ID, like I can generate this URL. So /users means I need to do something with this user, but I need some particular user. So I can also define here, okay, let's say user1. So /user/user1. If I'm talking about get /user/user1, that means I need the information of this user. Get means we need to read this information. We are only reading this information. If I'm talking about, let's say, post, and if I'm talking about /users, okay, and /new user. So post means we are creating something. Like URL is same, resource is same. Like we want to do something with this user. But what exactly we want to do with this user? Do we want to read it? Do we want to create a new user? So let's say post means we want to create something new. What is delete? Delete can also be used by this resource. So delete means we need to delete some user. What user? You can define this user ID here and it will delete it. Put means we need to update this user. Let's say you want to update a name, you want to update email address. So put means if you want to update something. So in REST API, these 4 can be verb, and these 4 verbs can be used with different URLs or different kind of data resources. Like users, let's say if you want to do something with comments, let's say if you're writing a new comment, that means you're creating a new comment, deleting a new comment. So all these verbs are actually getting used with this URL. Are you getting it? So this is nothing but this is a structure of request. That's how request actually works. And what about response? If you see, response, we talked about a lot of code yesterday. Let's say 200 we discussed. Okay, 200 means it's success. We found your resources, we are returning back to you. 404 means there is some error. 500 means there is some error in the server. Like it might not be able to find your resource or something like that. But all these are the numbers which tell what is the status of that response which is coming. Okay, but how does this response look like? So this response looks like, or there is a term for this response. It comes in a structure that your browser and your code can understand. Like it has also its format. Like this response can be only of this format. If it is different format than it is decided, then your code might not be able to read it. Your browser might not be able to read it. And that structure we call it as JSON. How does this JSON look like? There is some curly. I hope you already are aware of this thing. There is a basic of programming, but if you are not aware, don't worry about it. It is just a format that is coming as a response, and it can have information. Let's say you want to get information of this user U1. Okay, now what it will give you the ID. This is a format. It can be of anything. It can give you the name. It can give you the email. So there is a curly and then there is a quotation mark. So this is a key. And there is a value. So let's say U1 is a value, name, whatever it is, name, I'm writing my name, email address, it can be anything. So this is key and this is value. And inside the curly braces, it is coming like that. So now if your code can understand all this format notation, if you write the code which can understand the JSON, then it can render the detail wherever you want. So that's how, response look like. That's how, request look like. And this is what REST API, like that's how HTTP protocol works. I hope you are clear with it. Now, next question is that why REST API is very, very popular? Like who made this thing very popular? So there are 3 main reasons. Firstly, if you see, the whole REST API works on the concept of HTTP. And HTTP is nothing but it is just a URL. Like it is just a URL. Even if you go to your browser, if you put URL of some API, if you just click on enter there, it can show you the response. It can show you the response in this JSON format. So first thing is that it is very, very simple to set up and use. Like you just need a URL to, configure this REST API. Another reason is that, of course, it is easy to debug. What I mean by debug is that whatever response which is coming from API, or because you are using a URL, so you can easily, like yesterday, if you remember, like in the last lesson, if you remember, I showed you the network tab. In that network tab, all the information is there directly on your browser. So everything, if something is going wrong, you will get a 404 response. So it is very easy to debug things here. Okay, we will go deep into everything like that, but I'm just giving you a high-level overview. And what is the next point? There is a next point called cache. Now, you might not be familiar with cache, but Cache is nothing but you are storing something for later down the line so that you don't have to call that API again. Don't worry about this term cache right now. Just marking as a star. Cache we'll discuss later down the line. Okay, but these are the three main reasons by which REST API is popular. Okay, now you guys can say, okay, REST API has all these advantages. It is easy to use. Everything is there. Then why we have all these three different type of variety of APIs? So it's not like that REST only has advantages. There are some disadvantages as well. The first disadvantage is that overfetching. What I mean by overfetching is that, let's say you want to get a name of user one. Okay, you make a request, let's say /get/user/u1. Your API, your response, your server is sending a response in a curly manner, and it is sending all these details. What it is sending you the ID, it is sending you the email, it is sending you the email. There can be phone number as well. There can be more details as well. So if you see all the information that you have for that user, each and every detail is coming from the server. But what exactly you need? You only need name. That's it. You don't need any other information. So if you see overfetching is happening, like you need only few resources, but lot of information is coming up. So this is the one disadvantage. What is another disadvantage? That is underfetching. You will like overfetching, underfetching. Like how underfetching can be disadvantage here? So guys, the thing is that, let's say you want two things. Like you want the name of the user, but you also want 20 posts of this user. So that means name of user, I got it. This is users, but 20 post. This is not part of users. This is some different resource called post. So that means there are two different resources. That means there might be two different URLs. If there are two different URLs, that means we need to make two API calls or two call to this URL to get all this data. This is not a single call. We need to make two calls, one for user, one for post, and then we are getting this data. So this is another disadvantage. It's like overfetching, we are getting extra information. Underfetching, if resources are at different places, then we need to call multiple APIs. So these are the two disadvantages. So now we go to another type of API, and that is GraphQL. And GraphQL can handle this underfetching and overfetching, like both of the disadvantages that we discussed here. GraphQL can solve it very easily. So what is happening in REST API? We were just telling, okay, we need information of this user, and now server is deciding the whole format of response. Like this whole format is actually built by server. You like whoever is calling is not even have any contribution. They are just calling users. This is the user ID, and server is sending all that information to of the user. But what is the significance of the GraphQL? Firstly, this GraphQL is actually developed by Facebook. Like it actually developed by Facebook, and it was very trending there. Like I think many good companies are using it. But what exactly they were solving is both of these problems. Let's say REST API philosophy is that server will decide what is the format of the data. But GraphQL says why server should decide. Why not client should decide what is the structure of the data I want. So there can be a query like this in GraphQL. Okay, I need user. Okay, I need his name, I need his email, I need his post last 20. Like in the one call, instead of making two call for user again, post again, in the one call, we are fetching name, email, which is from user resources, but we are also telling them we also need 20 posts, which might be in some other data location. So the whole structure, how the data should look like, is actually decided by client. And what is the advantage of this? That we are not fetching anything extra that we don't want. Let's say if we need only name and email, we are only fetching that. Let's say if I only need name, I don't even need to pass email. My server will only return name and the last 20 posts in the same exact format. Are you getting it? So that is the advantage of GraphQL. Like it is solving, like firstly, we don't have to make two URL calls. It is in a one call, we are getting data. Another thing, whatever data that is useful for me, it is sending me only that. But the main disadvantages of GraphQL is basically it is very, very hard to set up. Like the setup takes a lot of time. Like server needs to be, can have a lot of configuration to get it enabled. So that is the main thing. Like whenever someone start building some MVP, they don't even use it from the very day one. Like it is a very complex thing. Another thing is that in GraphQL, caching doesn't work. Caching, I know we haven't talked it about, but let me tell you one more time, caching is nothing but we are, saving these information of that API somewhere so that we can use it later down the line without even making call to that API. So caching, we won't be able to use that. These are the two disadvantages of GraphQL. The only thing that you need to remember is that in GraphQL, client decide the shape of the data, not your server. Now, if you see, both REST API and this GraphQL is actually based on request and response. Like I was talking about, okay, client make a request and then, server send you the response. So client always needs to make the request first. Like it needs to call the server, then server will answer and give it back to the client. But guys, there is one thing, and that is, let's say if you're having some real-time conversation. Let's say on your WhatsApp, you're talking to someone. Like if you see, they are talking in real time. You send a message, they got the message instantly. They are sending a message, you are getting a message instantly. Like there is not even a waiting time. Is it possible with this Graph and REST API? I don't think so. It is even possible. Why? Because in both of this thing, firstly, client needs to make a request. And if you see about request here, then we need to do something like that. Like, let's say in second one, it is sending, hey, like client is asking to backend, hey, any message? Question mark. In another second, it's sending another API call. Hey, any message? In another second, another API call, any message. So every millisecond or every second, we are just making call unnecessarily again and again and again. This is just a waste of resource. So I think request and response mechanism won't work here. Like all the real-time things don't work on this request response mechanism. They work on something called WebSocket. Like that's why WebSocket is here. Like WebSocket is third type of API. Now, what is WebSocket? WebSocket is nothing but, let's say we have a client, we have a server. WebSocket opens a two-way connection between client and server. Now, this is permanently open until client or server, if anyone can close it. What does this mean? Let's say if client is sending someone to server, it is reaching instantly. If server is sending something to client, it is reaching it instantly. Like just assume now they are connected and the whole data flow can be happen between them without even calls. Like everything is flowing between them in real time. Like if you play any kind of game, like in games as well, what happened? Everything is in real time. If you are doing chats, everything is real time. So that means both client and server now has a open connection and any data can flow between them. I hope you got it. That's why we are using WebSocket in these kind of scenarios. The main disadvantage of WebSocket is that it is very hard to maintain. Like it is very hard to set up. To make a connection between client of server, it takes hell lot of resources. Hell lot of resources. Of course, like if you are making this connection 24/7, then it will take hell lot of resources of yours. Okay. Another thing is that it is not very to make it scalable, we need to think a lot. Like for a good engineer as well, they need to think a lot to make it scalable. But this is not our problem. These are not our problem. This we will discuss in the next lessons. The only crux that I really want to give you is that WebSocket means real-time connection between client and server. We don't have to make requests again and again and again. Every data is flowing in real time and it's a very good experience. I hope you got WebSocket. So now let's discuss about another API type, and that is gRPC. So firstly, like if you are a front-end engineer, you won't be able to use it. You won't be able to implement it. It's majorly used when backend needs to contact another backend. That means, let's say if you have a server one and the server one wants to connect with server two. For these kind of communication, this gRPC is getting used. Why? Because it is actually faster than REST API. Like REST API is slower, gRPC is faster. The only thing is that it is not a browser readable thing. Like humans can't read it. Like, so it is very hard to debug. But the best part is that, of course, it is super fast. Like the communication happens in milliseconds. So I think this is the only information that you must be aware about gRPC right now. Whenever we go in detail, we will discuss it more. But the whole crux of gRPC is that when one server wants to communicate with another server in a very faster manner, we can use gRPC. Okay, so now the next question arises, okay, we have 4 different type of APIs, 4 different type of contract, but which one to use it? Honestly, you can use anything. So firstly, it also depends on a use case. Okay, let's say if you want some real-time communication, you can use WebSocket. If you want where, front-end is asking multiple resources at the same time, let's say it wants the user, it wants its post, it wants its comment section, everything at the same time. So you don't need to make different multiple API calls. You can just use GraphQL. If you're using something between your server to server, like it's not getting used in browser, but if you want to talk to another backend in a very, fastest manner, then you can use gRPC. And rest of the cases, you can just use REST as fine. Like REST API, you can use eventually everywhere. Okay, but a good system, use this thing in combination. Like at one module, we are using gRPC, at another, we are using WebSocket, another GraphQL. So it totally depends on use cases, and each big companies has all these 4 things implemented somewhere in their pipeline. Okay, so it's not a question which one to choose. It all depends on a use case. Wherever it is getting right fit, you can just use that. So I hope you are clear with this API thing. You are clear what exactly is API. API is nothing but contract between two pieces of software, how exactly it works, what are the different types, everything is there. So that's how it is. In the next lesson, we will talk more about the vocabulary. So before even starting the main system design, I want to build some kind of vocabulary to you. Okay. So in the next lesson, we will discuss some kind of vocabulary, what all the terms means. Like, let me give an example. Let's say if I ask you what is latency, what is throughput, all these kind of things. So firstly, we will develop our vocabulary, then we'll move to the next section of our system design. I hope you're enjoying it. We'll see you in the next video.